Today, we have Heidi Pruess is the recently hired Climate Smart and Sustainability Program Manager for Larimer County. Heidi's a certified environmental professional with 30 years experience. I told her that's impossible. She looks way too young to have 30 years worth of experience working with local governments in the development and operations of sustainability and community plans and environmental policy. Heidi has experience in developing these plans in Oregon and Arizona and Ohio, and most recently North Carolina. Heidi is residing in Fort Collins with her husband, and she has 2 kids in college right now. So I guess maybe 30 years experience does match up. So Heidi. Leave it here.
Let me try to leave it here and see what happens. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. I appreciate the warm welcome and the introduction. I appreciate that. I'm a little bit concerned. I did bathe this morning. You're all sitting like in the back tables. All the front tables are, so maybe we'll get some chance to meet each other a little bit closer. And for those on Zoom, thank you for joining us. I'm going to share my screen. And there we go. There we go. Now, hopefully it'll be large enough. For those on here, maybe, I don't know if you can skip, there you go. Okay, so it is correct that I work for Larimer County. My official title is Climate Smart and Sustainability Program Manager, if that's a long enough title for you. I have been working for the county now since September. And that's because this initiative is a new one. It's something that Larimer County has not embarked on in the past. And so what I'm going to do today is I am going to, if I can get this right, there you go. I am going to talk about why this initiative came about in the first place. I'm going to give you a little overview of that initiative. I'm going to walk through how you can get involved and what this means for you going forward, and then see if you have any questions on the next steps. I have a series of slides here that are providing information for you about why climate is a topic of discussion in our area. These slides and the information on these slides is specific to Larimer County. So if you see something in the parentheses underneath it, that is the source of the information. So this is not national data. This is not state data. This is data that is specific for Larimer County. And what you'll see on this first slide is that there have been, as you know because you live here, an increase in extreme heat days. And our temperature overall, compared to historical averages, is continuing to increase as we go along. It's not every day, but the average peaks are increasing. In addition to that, we are continuing to realize an increase in the amount of disasters that are impacting Larimer County. We're very familiar with the fires. It's not unique to our county, but I don't know if you realize we've had tornadoes here. We've had quite a series of floods here, and we've had a couple snow declarations that hit that disaster relief that we needed from FEMA, even in this area. But more than those climate, as we think of the external environment impacts, we know that what we do every day plays some role in the increase to these disaster events and our increased heat events. So what is it that we're doing that plays a role in this impact? Well, how we move around plays a role, and we know that 60% of the people who live in Larimer County live and work here. So there's definitely an opportunity for us to do better when it comes to giving folks alternative modes of transportation to get around so that they can utilize those and decrease our impacts to the environment. In addition to that, we know that 11% recycling, if you think about that in your own house, you probably recycle more than 11% if you're a recycler. So 11% countywide is a measure that we could definitely improve. We also know that climate and sustainability relates to our own personal health and our well-being. So we need to pay attention to the fact that our ozone action days and those days that are critical impacts for those with health issues like asthma or heart disease, the days that are impacting those individuals are increasing, which means that our overall community cost for health increases. And these are impacts that we need to pay attention to, as well as our water. And yes, it's true, we all knew coming into the West that it was more arid, but we have 12% of our population is experiencing extreme drought. And extreme drought is the drought that penetrates into the soil depth levels and really increases our fire risk hazards. In addition to those statistics, there have been questionnaires across the community about what about climate? Should we be caring about climate, or is this a conversation we don't need to have? And in the most recent questionnaire, you'll see here on this slide, the first two, and it's kind of small print, sorry about that. This data is all available on the website, which I'll share with you later. But when folks were asked, do I realize that I'm having an impact and would I be willing to do something about it? The majority of people in those first two bars say yes, and I would like to take action. But the third bar, the green bar, is the one that's really interesting because that's the bar that says, I would like to know more first. I need more education. And so this Larimer County Climate Smart Initiative was born. In January of 2021, for those who are here in the room, they'll have a copy of it on your table. The Climate Smart Framework was adopted by our county commissioners. This framework document was developed by county staff, and so it was one view of what potential strategies and what potential priorities climate and sustainability plans should entail. One of the key findings that came from that, what we're calling phase one framework, was, okay, that's nice, you can interview staff all day long, but we need to get out into the community, and we really need to understand what the community thinks about climate, what kind of actions need to be taken. And so that's where we are right now today. We are in phase two. This is a community outreach component. And the whole idea, the whole concept that takes us through from November through May of this year is to seek feedback and to develop a suite of priorities that are taking into account what staff said in that framework document, but also adding into it what the community is saying. And when I say the community, I mean us as individuals, our business community, our sister local governments, and the like, all of our business sector. When we complete this public outreach, community outreach phase, we're going to be combining all this information together and launching into an implementation plan development. And the idea here is that there will be actions that will be identified with goals that will be identified that a suite of partners can get behind to make some real change. It's not as if there hasn't been programs already going on in this community. Certainly Fort Collins has a very robust climate action plan. But when you think countywide and you think about the broader picture of what's in our county and who our partners are, partners like CDOT or partners like the Forest Service, we know that there are things that we're probably missing, opportunities we're missing, that we could be partnering together on to address these issues that we know about. So that's what will be in our implementation plan moving forward. That framework document, as I mentioned before, if you quickly wanted to flip through it, it is broken down into 6 categories. And again, remember, this document was created by county staff, so these 6 categories might look to you like, those are county departments. That's not always the way that we think about climate. That's not the way that we experience sustainability in our everyday lives. That's not how we we work our actions and our goals going forward. So we're going to repackage this a little bit. And I'm sorry, this screen is, for those who are online, you probably can read this screen, but for those here in the room, this is a little bit hard to read. This is a graphic that we created to describe the phases of our community outreach. And so the cloud level there is pulling together the framework and the community outreach from our first questionnaire that's already been completed. The second component there is a series of raindrops. And those raindrops are coming from the clouds, but they're repackaged. I talked about repackaging those 6 areas. We're going to repackage them into 4 areas, a little bit easier to read. And I'm going to go over those 4 areas for you on the next couple slides. And then at the end of this next component I'll talk about, we'll put everything together into a strategy prioritization document. But because that's hard to read, I'm going to move forward. This is one of the results from our first questionnaire that went out into the community. And the question here was, when you think about climate and sustainability, what's your first reaction? What are you thinking about? The first bar, that's the tallest bar there, says that the majority of folks who answered the survey said we think about sustainability. So that means that we're thinking about our actions that we're taking today, but also what that means for future implementation. The second bar there is quality of life. So people are thinking and relating climate to their quality of life. And what's really interesting is that fourth bar, which is orange, is innovation. So a significant number of people who responded to our first questionnaire said, we equate what's happening with climate and sustainability in that discussion with innovative products, practices, opportunities going forward. I think that's a really encouraging sign that we can think about this not as a doom and gloom topic, but as an opportunity for the future. The remaining responses there that are difficult to read are things like developing partnerships, collaborations, and the like. So these are the 4 categories that we're moving into with our current phase that we're just launching now for community feedback. And this is going to start to get into how can you get involved. These 4 categories are what we're going to ask folks, how can we improve on what we've already done? How can we improve our energy use, our water use, our food and waste management, and those innovative technologies in our home and work every day? How can we improve how we move around, and not just us, but the goods and services that we utilize every day? Are we transferring those goods and services in a very quality, accessible kind of way or not? Could we do better? How about nature and land? Is there a way that we could come together and improve how we're utilizing our natural resources and really combining that with the breadth of agriculture experience that we have here about how to take care of those natural resources? And then for our well-being, this component will definitely get into those disasters that we talked about at the beginning, as well as air quality and water quality. Once we are complete with our segment on those 4 components, our outreach there, we'll be pulling together that framework document, the results from this community outreach, as well as what are the best practices nationwide that are going on that we can learn from and not create the wheel. We'll be putting all those things together into this strategy prioritization that will go before our elected officials. It'll first go before our county commissioners, and then there'll be an opportunity for our other municipalities to take a look and to see where partnership opportunities are alignment. So how can you get involved? These are those 4 categories again, and I just wanted to put these up just to remind you about what they are, because in February, beginning on February 8th, we will be having a series of workshops. These workshops are open to the public. They will be virtual. And so we had to make a little adjustment there just because we can't seem to get away from the impacts of COVID. But across the bottom there are those 4 categories. And you should know that each one of those categories will be addressed in these workshops twice. twice in English, once in Spanish, and there'll be 1-hour sessions. So you will have an opportunity to sign up for one session if you really have a passion on how we move around or how goods and services move around, then maybe you want to sign up for that 1-hour workshop. If you have a passion for all four, then you can, we would love to have 4 hours of your time if you wanted to attend 4 separate workshops. We do have the registrations open right now on our website. And so if you go to larimer.org/climate-smart, you will see a suite of information on this website. For those who are here on the tables, there are some drink coasters that have a QR code on them. They are provided to you because they are in Spanish, so if you have some Spanish-speaking friends or businesses, cohorts, you could share this with them because we're trying to encourage some perspective from that community. But that QR code will take you to our website and how to register. If you type in the website address, you want to migrate over to the Get Involved tab there that is highlighted in yellow, and click on that. That will take you to this page that identifies for you in more detail those charts that were difficult to read. You can read the summary document that is highlighted under the completed column, or you could go down to the bar that says register for a workshop. We would love to have you register for a workshop. It'll give you all the opportunities and you can make your selections there. You can also follow us on social media and share this initiative out far and wide. It's very difficult. Communication is the hardest thing that we do. And so reaching those parts of the community that aren't necessarily the choir is what we're looking for. We're looking for folks who are in maybe disadvantaged, historically disadvantaged components of our community, or just those that are hard to reach. So you can follow us and share our documentation there. That's all that I really have for our presentation. So I would welcome any questions that you have, and I appreciate the fact that you are here listening to what I have to present. There you go.
So Heidi, outside of coming to our club today, what are you doing to get the word out on these workshops?
Yeah, we've been holding so the very first questionnaire that we did was at a time when we were still able to do some in-person events. And so we held in-person events in Loveland, Estes Park, Red Feather Lakes, and Berthoud. So we've been trying to get out that way. We are partnering with our friends who already have climate plans within the city of Fort Collins, and they have been providing to us their avenues of outreach. And so we're making as many in-person presentations as we can make, as well as visiting in our libraries, our senior centers, and a variety of different ways to do that. And of course, there's always social media, and there are quite a few newsletter outlets that we have been promoting within, as well as the traditional media. We had an article in the North 40 News and the like. So,
do we have any questions or comments from our folks on Zoom? Okay. Yeah.
So Heidi, as you fast forward, however long that is, to implementation, what are the thoughts or discussions on how to make this appealing economically to a citizen in Larimer County, and all waste, electric cars, new reservoir? What's it mean, how do you get the buy-in to address the issue?
Right. Well, thank you for the question. I hope everyone could hear it. The question is around how do you gain buy-in, especially economically. And so That's part of the community feedback that we're looking for. If you have ideas, I will say that quite a few of the strategies that staff have been knocking around already and that have come up in our first questionnaire series were things like incentive programs. We have a series of updated codes that you might be aware of. You know, we just adopted our updated residential electrical codes, business electrical codes, our building codes. And so there's a feeling we've already been doing, we're at the top of our game. We're pushing the limit when it comes to being equivalent with state standards or local best practice and standards. So then the question is, how do we go above and beyond? How do you create that buy-in? And incentives is one way to do that. Nationwide, there are a series of programs that are available that local governments could look at. How do we promote those? In addition to that, there are opportunities for an influx of grant funding and private foundation funding for projects that include partners. And so one of the things that we're doing is actively looking for partners. And what are those unique, innovative programs and practices that maybe haven't been tried here before? Or maybe they've been tried by one entity with a realization that they needed partners in order to make those effective. And so we're hoping that one of the things that you'll see in our implementation plan is a series of opportunities to bring those ideas to those funding sources that we're looking for. You know, the state is very active in passing new legislation when it comes to climate and sustainability actions that they're anticipating people are just going to pick up and be able to do. Federally, though, there's a lot of recognition that there needs to be financial support for those things, and so we'll be looking for those opportunities.
I see you have a question, Karen.
Yes. So my question is, how are we addressing, or what are some of the things that we're sharing with people who believe that it's just too late, who feel like, you know, we're so far down the road that, you know, we kind of can't change the direction we're in. You know, the folks who don't believe in climate change and who are really hardly on that side, I don't know that we're going to do a lot to convince them to change their lifestyle. But there's also a group of people out there who say, we're so far down the path that, you know, why are we going to worry now?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say that's very unfortunate. I think you just had a presentation at the very beginning of this meeting that said we should maybe flip our conversation around a little bit to be more positive. But what I would say is this, is that we are actively implementing programs across the county that are realizing change and beneficial impact when it comes to repairing, restoring, mitigating, and adapting to climate change impacts. These are programs that maybe we're witnessing out on our open spaces and nature preserves when we're talking about invasive species and the impacts that climate change has on proliferating those species, exploring what the options are with our academic partners like at CSU to come across some new and innovative programs. There's always new and innovative programs. There's always new technology that's coming on board. There are new businesses that are popping up and coming into our community that are going to help us with these solutions. I don't think that it's too late. And if folks in the community are on either one of those sides, it's the too late side or it's not happening in the first place side, you know, we are going to be the most effective if we're in the middle of the road, if we can compromise, if we can make some collaborative efforts going forward that show progress. And that's why the implementation plan is going to have a series of goals that we're going to measure against and report out on to say, oh, we tried this, it worked. Please replicate it. Please steal our idea and let's do this all over. Or, yeah, we tried that program or whatever it is. It didn't quite work. We need to take a different tact and explore what those are. But that's going to be the purpose of the implementation plan.
Great. By the way, I'm not in either camp. It was just a academic question.
Right.
Any other questions in the room on Zoom? Okay, thank you, Heidi.
Thank you so much for having me today.